What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in to another edition of the On the Ball podcast. Hopefully, you had a great weekend. Enjoyed the first week of football. What's going on, Jory? We're going to go over our picks. We're going to talk about some of the big games that happened. What's going on, Kerm? See where we are after 1 week, and then get into week 2 picks as well. So, got a lot to get into. You on the chat. If you want to talk about a certain game, leave your thoughts about week 1, do that as well. You already know how it goes here, where we're all about you all. But before we get into all that, got Brett here with me again. Not guarding the 2, guarding the 3. How are you doing, Brett?
I can't have asked for a much better week. I thought we beat the Lions, but I thought it'd be close. Instead, we came out and just obliterated them right from the jump. So I love to see that. The Bears still suck. I can't ask for much more than that. So,
yeah. I mean, hey, if you can't be happy for your team, what else can you be happy for? But I mean, it was a good showing for the Packers for sure. Kern said Danny Dimes needed a change of scenery. Well, he just needed to face the
propagandas,
Dolphins.
Yes.
He needed to face the Dolphins because, that might have been the worst performance of the week from Miami. I don't know, but we'll see. Can Danny do it again? Week 2. I know my Patriots face the Dolphins this week, and based on the history between those two teams, watch the Dolphins play much better this week.
I mean, to be fair, if you're Miami, is there really playing any worse? I feel like they'll play much better for the sole purpose of I don't think they can really top the disaster class that was Sunday.
Yeah, that's true. But so let's go ahead and let me do this. Let's take a look back at last week. We actually both went 2-3.
Oof.
So not the greatest start, but it wasn't the worst either. So we'll talk about Thursday night first. We both had Eagles -6.5. The Eagles did win, but they didn't cover. Looking at that game, Kerm, I know Kerm's here, Cowboys fan. What were your thoughts on the game? How did the Cowboys look to you with everything around the Micah Parsons, the Jerry, all that? Were you surprised at the Cowboys' performance Thursday night or not? And Eagles side, how impressive would you say it is for them not necessarily bring their A game, but still getting a win like that?
I mean, when it comes to the Eagles, you'll just get a win however you can get a win, right? It doesn't matter the week. Every week's important. And remember how important every week is. The Bengals got upset in week 1 last year and then proceeded to miss the playoffs by 1 game. So it's important to take care of these games that you clearly just have the better team. And the Cowboys put up a great fight. But, at the end of the day, the Eagles found a way to get the job done. The Cowboys, on the flip side, I thought they were impressive. I'll give them credit. They fought. They kept up with the Eagles. Obviously, Dak successfully rage-baiting Jalen Carter into getting kicked before the game even started was terrific.
Yeah.
I do have to pick on them a little bit because Jerry did make this whole spiel about we got to stop the run. That's why they traded Micah, and then they got ran all over. But at the end of the day, I thought they looked fine. They looked a lot more competitive than I thought. And they really they were in that game and had a chance. Dak played elite level. He was an elite quarterback on Thursday. And if CeeDee Lamb could catch a football, then it would have been a completely different ball game.
Yeah. Jory says Chiefs lost, Texans lost. Cam looked great. Yeah. We'll get into Cam a little bit later here because I do agree. I thought playing in Denver, where as a Patriots fan, I've seen Tom Brady look awful in Denver. I thought Cam held his own really well. Obviously, there'll be some things he'll have to work on, but first start, you can live with it.
I might have to revise my Chiefs take. I picked them to win the division on the show last week, and I might have to change that.
I picked well, and I'm there with you. It's time maybe to rethink it, but I don't know.
Like, okay, I don't like over indexing on week one
Yeah.
that much. However, here's my little kicker to that rule.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a continuation from last year, then at that point, is it really over indexing on week one? So when I'm watching Xavier Worthy get taken out, they're not going to have Rice till week 6.
Mm-hmm.
And, Travis Kelce looks even older and slower than
Mm-hmm.
last year. And I know I heard the arguments, but he had a long touchdown. No, I'm not going to let one busted coverage touchdown change what I saw on every other snap of that game.
Yep.
Looked old, he looked slow, he couldn't get open. So I just genuinely have no clue like where this offense is going to come from. And the defense wasn't really so it wasn't a world beater, but to be fair, the Chargers offensive line is also just very good.
Mm-hmm.
They looked a lot better than I thought they would without Slater, but I know the NFL Genius said that they start out 1-3, the Chiefs. Man, they're lucky they play the Giants because that could have been very easily 0-4 if they didn't get that lucky Giants game in there.
Yeah, what's going on, Key? Kerm says, "Oh, brother, the Giants." Hey, Russell Wilson will still be starting, supposedly. But yeah, I think when you saw the Chiefs game, it was like, obviously, as you can see right there, Quentin Johnson, comeback player of the year. We're starting it now. I was surprised how good he looked. And when you think about the receiving core for the Chargers, where you have Keenan Allen, who's obviously longer in the tooth and everything, but with McConkey and now Johnson, if he can keep this up, all you need Keenan Allen to do is help you move the chains. Little, over the middle stuff, on the boundary, all that kind of stuff. He's pretty much sure-handed. If he's working underneath those two, that's going to make, it much easier for Justin Herbert. Marion Hampton looked good for his first outing in the backfield. They sprinkled in a little Najee Harris. Justin Herbert looked really good. I know you mentioned Gene. He's been saying buy Herbert stock. I mean, based off of that game in Brazil, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't. And the other side, like you said, it's just difficult to see where the explosive plays are going to come for the Chiefs without Worthy and without Rice. Like, they're depending on Juju Smith, Hollywood Brown, which, I mean, Hollywood Brown did a little bit, but him alone is not going to be enough for this Chiefs team, especially against an offense like the Chargers have. At least if they continue to look the way that they did. And it is kind of worrisome. Like, look, for all we know, the Giants defensively may be able to keep that game close. And at that point, who knows what happens? Like, it's the NFL. And that's, I think, the scary part when you're looking at the Chiefs. Because I, like you, picked them to win the division, even though I do think, as Jory says, the Chiefs defense is suspect. Yeah. And especially if the offense isn't great, it makes the defense look even worse. But it's like, I acknowledge that the AFC West was closing the gap on the Chiefs. And not to overreact to Friday, but watching that, you're like, okay, the Chargers might be right there with them. Now, the Broncos, I think there's still a little space there because the Broncos still have a very young quarterback, and we'll have to see how he can progress through the season. But that Chargers team looked like they're up for the challenge this year. And if they were played again later in the season, I'd probably take the Chargers because of their ability to be explosive offensively. And defensively, they played well too.
Yeah, I think it's more than a little space with Denver. That they did not look. They had maybe had arguably one of the most unimpressive week one wins, right?
Yeah.
And once again, it goes back to that thing where you'll take a win any way you can get it. So congratulations, they won. But did they ever they tried so hard to give that game to the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, the Titan skill position players have the hands of prime Jalen Reagor. But it just didn't. They tried so hard to lose that game. So
Yeah, the Broncos didn't have a good showing.
It definitely looked like that. It's still, Chargers and Chiefs are in a different tier than the Broncos from that first week, which I think the Broncos could be fine. Maybe they bounce back, but
yeah. But just going off of week one, yeah, you would say Chargers, Chiefs, Gap, Broncos, and I guess I don't know how impressive you may have been with the Raiders, but I know you commented on the Geno interception, which that Raiders game was like the roller coaster of Geno Smith. Like he would make some throws. You're like, okay, Geno, this is like early Seahawks Geno where, he got out of New York. He was looking good. Then he throws the pick and you're like, oh, well, this is the Geno why he's not in Seattle anymore. But yeah, I think that division's going to be interesting to keep track of over the course of the season.
Yeah, so Geno showed you why he's not an elite quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has the flashes, he has the arm count, he's a great talent, but every couple times a game he just makes these decisions where you're like, what are you doing, Geno?
Yeah.
If he could somehow cut those bonehead decisions in half,
mm-hmm.
Sky's the limit for Geno. But overall they also pulled it out, and overall I was pleasantly surprised with them. Jacoby Myers kept getting open.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Bowers is hurt, but we'll see how that goes. But I was pleasantly surprised with the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, Pete Carroll and kind of the overhauled staff that they have there. Yeah, I thought they had a good game plan. They put guys in position to make plays. So yeah, I feel like they're probably not going to factor in the division this year, but you look at the Raiders and you say they're probably heading in the right direction. And that should be good enough for Raiders fans, at least for this year. Curran says the Giants and Dolphins ranked 31 and 32.
Giants 31, Gap.
Yeah.
Dolphins 32.
Yeah. Absolutely. The Dolphins.
It's funny.
What did you think about the Dolphins' performance?
What did I think?
Yeah.
Oh man. I didn't think anything of it. The funny part is I don't even know if words can describe how bad that went.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything that could have went wrong just did. If I was the owner of the Dolphins, I would have cut the entire team after that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Call in the replacements. Call in Bo Callahan. It didn't matter. Call in footsteps, Shane, Flacco,
yeah.
Falco, it didn't matter. You just need a culture change. You just need a lot of change down there.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McDaniels clearly just doesn't have what it takes. Tua clearly isn't the quarterback of the future. Tyreek Hill, I think they want to ship out, but I don't think anybody's trading for him because he's still on a big contract.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
And then they got stomped by a Colts team who, mind you, this wasn't projected to be the most explosive offense with Daniel Jones at the helm, but they made them look like the 07 Patriots. They were just absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah.
They should just fire the entire team, cut everybody, and restart from the beginning. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the worst spot where you accidentally might win a few games down the stretch to keep yourself from a top pick, but you're also not good enough to do anything in the playoffs. So the Dolphins, they did awful, and they're in the worst spot possible in the NFL right now. They're in purgatory,
mm-hmm.
and they just need to start over.
Yeah. I mean, I think the worst part is they're already a team that we feel like are mentally weak already. And now after that showing and seeing, Tyreek and some of these frustrations on the sideline, you just wonder if they lose next week in week 3, does this team completely implode and it just gets worse all season? And you figure if you're ownership and it does get to that point, you don't wait. You pull the trigger on Mike McDaniel. You go, hey, we brought you in. We tried it. Clearly, you aren't ready for this. We'll move on. They could do some interim guy or whatever. And then really think about, like you said, wholesale changes. Like the Tua experiment, you can move on. Tyreek Hill, move on. I don't know. I mean, they've moved out, Jalen Ramsey and other guys like that, but you remember when McDaniel got there, everybody looked at the Dolphins as like the team to watch over the next couple of years. And they did have the one playoff appearance, but the way they looked in that, they clearly have not gotten over that. Plus, it's just like, where's the optimism? Like, there isn't any. Maybe Jalen Waddle, I guess. But you need a guy to get it to him. So that's a problem. Did you hear McDaniel's press conference? I heard Tua's. I heard Mike McDaniel's. Tua being offended that the reporter was like, when you turn the ball over, you seem to do it multiple times a game, and he was like, multiple. I think that's a bit brash to say after today. And then Tua was like, yeah, it happened today, but that just happened. Yeah. That's football.
And you know who was also offended? Dolphins fans. They pay actual U.S. currency to watch Tua fling bullets to linebackers. Like that first interception,
that was horrible.
That wasn't even close. He just threw that right to the safety. And I'm like, okay, maybe he'll bounce back. And the next interception, just dead on, right to the linebacker. And they weren't even disguising the coverage. The linebacker's just standing right there. And Tua's like, here you go. Yeah. Like, if anything, Tua shouldn't be the one offended. It should be every single Dolphins fan, every single Dolphin, because they're getting a bad name that's out in the ocean. Like, anything associated with Dolphins, aquatic, football teams, they should all be offended because of how bad Tua is. Besmirching the good names of Dolphins, and I won't stand for it.
Yep. Ace Ventura, like all of it.
Hey, doesn't matter.
Yeah. I did think Rex Ryan, who Jory kind of put me on to what Rex Ryan said, like he went in on Mike McDaniel, and I thought it was perfect because he basically just, Jory will probably put it in because I don't want to mess up the name he called him. He called him, was it Genius McFraud Nerd Boy or something like that? He called him. The ocean should be offended, yeah. But it's just like, the shine of Mike McDaniel has worn off to the point where it's just like, just put him out of his misery and just move on. He's not going to make it through the season. It's not going to get any better because now he's losing games with Tua. At least last year it was like, well, Tua got hurt. McDaniel, zombie walked through those games with Huntley, but now he looks bad with Tua under center as well. So he doesn't have that to fall back on either.
And that's true. That's fair. Honestly, if they get blown out again against the Patriots and they still have a job, and he still has a job after week 2, that would be the most mind-boggling thing at that point because he's done. Just rip the Band-Aid off. So you need, at the end of the day, this is just a team that needs a culture change. They need somebody who's going to be tough on them. This team in general just needs to get tougher. Yeah. And you can tell because this is a team right now that can't win in cold weather. This is a team that preach, we're going to get tougher, and tried to show it in the preseason on a 1st and goal on the 1 and got stuck 4 times in a row. I think it's pretty clear at this point that they just need an absolute culture change, a team change, just an overall shift in identity this offseason. And I think that just starts with firing Mike McDaniels.
Yeah. You know who else looks good from this? Brian Flores. Remember the interview that Tua did where he was like, oh, McDaniel, he tries to be your friend. He encourages you. He does all this, unlike Flores does. Well, clearly y'all needed the culture that Flores was establishing because this little soft and gentle approach from McDaniel has led y'all nowhere. So if I'm Brian Flores, I'm like, see, it wasn't me. It's these players that they brought in who are soft.
Yeah, Brian Flores is he ain't going to come out and publicly say it, but he's probably chilling in his coordinator box just laughing at him right now.
Yep. And hey, I'm here for it. Yeah, let's go Sunday night. The game of the year, as everybody puts it. Bills, Ravens. We both got it right with the Ravens plus 1.5. The Bills obviously won the game. But looking at that game, I believe the analytics were the Bills had a 1% chance of coming back. And you always hear that cliche about that's why you play the games. If you ever wanted proof, turn on Bills Ravens and you'll see. The Bills were dead in the water. Their defense couldn't stop the Ravens. Their offense would sputter out. I know we were talking about like the play calling was like very conservative. And it just seemed like the Bills were ready to pack it up. Then they get the fumble by Derrick Henry. It's like that's what turned everything around because it took a 5-minute span to erase a 15-point lead. And I heard ESPN phrase it this way, so I'm going to phrase it to you. Should we look back on the game Sunday as the Ravens choking or the Bills with the great comeback? So I guess did the Ravens lose it or did the Bills win it? I hate when they ask that question because it's so stupid, but I'm just going to pose it for the conversation.
If you want to know my real answer to that, I think the guy who answered that question perfectly was Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
During an interview when somebody asked him that, and I can't repeat what he said on here because I'll get canceled, so you can go see what Russ said about that. But, like, to me, the phrasing that way is always weird because it's both. It's both.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens clearly choked, and the Bills clearly showed the resilience to make an epic comeback and win.
Mm-hmm.
It's both. This is something that we've seen time and time again with this Ravens team. We almost got the full Ravens experience in one game, like looking utterly dominant and then somehow snatching, defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah.
They all of a sudden just became undisciplined and just lacked attention to detail right at the end. This is something that seemingly happens too often to John, Harbaugh-led teams.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to look at somebody, I think you got to start looking. You got to look at him. Because how many times is this now that he's blown a big lead with just very little time to go? And every time it's the same thing. Go conservative.
Yep.
Team starts coming back. Refuse to go from this conservative play calling and end up losing the game. So the Ravens just kind of, they fell apart. But, credit to the Bills. They stuck with it and they got motivated after the Henry fumble that, sparked something and they managed to pull it out on a walk-off field goal.
Yeah, which Hamilton seemed like he almost got a fingertip on, which obviously would have changed the trajectory of the game. But, Prater puts it through, and, yeah, they get the win. Everybody's now looking at Harbaugh because, Jory put Harbaugh. Curran cost him a mistake with the Henry fumble. I'm seeing – now it's okay. So the funny thing is, like Jory and I talk about Harbaugh on Passion and Precision all the time and how he's the problem. And it's like now because of this game, I've seen more people blame Harbaugh than I have before. So now it's Lamar deserves a better coach. Harbaugh, you should have went for it on 4th and 2 or 4th and 3, whatever it was. How could you dare punt the ball back to Josh Allen, seeing how he was in a rhythm and everything like that? And Harbaugh, I guess, to his credit or whatever, after the game was like, I like my defense. I trust my defense. I'm going to trust my defense. Okay. So, he obviously isn't going to lose any sleep over the decision. But is this a game that could lead to Harbaugh being placed on the hot seat?
If the Ravens season ends early, then yeah, I think this would absolutely play a decision.
Okay.
Like, to me, that was the mistake of the game. Like, you have a chance to put this thing away 4th and 3.
Mm-hmm.
You have Lamar and Henry, who are probably, I don't know the exact stats from the game, probably averaging like 4 or 5 yards a carry each.
Yep.
You honestly just run an RPO with like Zay Flowers and Hopkins, running slants or whatever you want to do. And you probably just get the easy first and ice the game. Like, clearly your defense is sputtering. Like, they can't get a stop right now. Like, at that point, I think you just put all the faith in the offense. Like, hey, go get us 4 yards. Let's win this game. It was just a poor decision. Say the Ravens defense looked really suspect that night. And next time I go out and get myself a nice steak and saying instead of saying well done, I might tell my steak Jaire Alexander, because man, he looked cooked.
Horrible.
Look, and I get it. We can't, and it wasn't even like a schematic thing. I'm not going to go, well, he's just learning the scheme, because half of the time it just looked like an athletic thing. Like, he was slow to break on balls. Like, receivers were just beating him when he was in man. Like, I just think, unfortunately, when it comes to Jaire, he's somebody that I'll always, have a soft spot for, but it just feels like the leg injuries have caught up to him.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't think he should be playing in a big role anymore.
Yeah. And when you look at that defense, like, Humphrey was kind of that for me the past couple of years, as Humphrey was the guy that you kind of had to hide a little bit in pass coverage, because teams would target him, usually with faster guys, and he would be left in the dust. I mean, that's what kind of Jaire Alexander looked like, Humphreys 2.0 against the Bills. Although he did make a bit of a saving tackle, which even when he did that by like grabbing the guy's toe, it was almost the wrong play, because he should have just let him score to give Lamar at least a chance on offense to get them down the field. Because at that point, the Ravens only had the one timeout. The Bills had the first down. So that ultimately ended the game for them. But yeah, there was so many times where you just saw him chasing Bills receivers, especially Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman was cooking him. And for the Bills, when they first signed him, Ravens fans were loving it. I'd love to know how they feel about that after the game Sunday. Because now teams are just going to target him.
I think at the end of the day with him, I think he's still a guy that can be productive, but I think it's clear that he just has to be a low usage corner. Like, you can't put him out there every down and expect the same impact as Jaire Alexander maybe had like 2-3 years ago. Like, I think he's very clearly just put him in on, obvious passing situations and maybe just set him up in zone. So,
yeah. What's going on, Saijan? Let's see. George said delusional defense is not the 2001 Ravens. Yeah, not even 2012. I can agree with that. Lamar had a cramp. You have a D lineman at running back. And yeah, like, I think they said Henry was averaging like 8-9 yards a carry. And it's not even the fourth down punting. My problem was 2nd down and 8. You do a jet sweep to Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is a small wide receiver. And Zay Flowers, I guess to his credit, he kind of went down the minute a defender was like barreling down on him. But I would love to hear from Monken. What did he think was going to happen on that play? Did he assume the defense was going to be sucked in, waiting for Henry, and like Zay was going to have this like wide open side of the field? Sure. But at that point, you're getting too cute with it. Like, either do like an RPO and let Lamar keep it, or just hand it to Henry. I don't care if Henry had fumbled 4 times on the night. I'd still give it to him, because I know the man was bowling people over all night. And then Zay Flowers on a 2nd and 8, you run a jet sweep. I was just like, yeah, that's where they're going to lose this.
I feel like if you want to give it to Zay, I would have made it part of like an RPO.
Yeah.
Because at that point, like, if you at least fake like you're putting the ball in the belly of Derrick Henry, then the defense gets sucked in. Then maybe you get your one-on-one. You can throw it out there and see what happens. But yeah, just straight up calling a jet sweep is just diabolical play calling.
But this is what we've been looking at the past few years. It's the game plan. It's play calling late in the games, odd decisions. Like, that's what's plagued the Ravens these past few years. Right, yeah. Henry falls forward. He's getting you 5. because he's gonna run over the first person that meets him, where if he's running off tackle or a dive, he's running over the first guy. You're gonna get your first, and then you can call game and fine. But look, we're in for another year of Ravens football with stuff like this. And look, the Ravens will probably bounce back and blow out. I think they play the Browns this week, and Ravens fans will be loving it. But I feel like you learned a lot from this game that the Ravens might not be ready for prime time yet again. I guess looking at the other side, what did Josh Allen show you, if anything, with the comeback?
I mean, did he show us anything that we already don't know about Josh Allen? Like, Josh Allen right now might just be the best quarterback in football. Like,
okay.
I think he was in those conversations already. Like, he showed me that with him at the helm, the Bills are going to be impossible to put away fully. Like, he's always going to stay committed. He's always going to fight till the very end. Like, if anything, I think he showed just a level of resiliency you really see only out of the truly elite quarterbacks. He never gave up, and he always stayed with it. Everything else I already knew about Josh Allen. Like, I didn't need to watch that game to know how elite of a talent Josh Allen was. But I think the real eliteness for me, like, was the resiliency. He never gave up, and it paid off in the end when he was able to lead that comeback with, a Matt Prater field goal.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily something that I've learned, but I guess if people weren't like paying attention to Josh Allen, his decision making has gotten so much better from his early years. Because I feel like in a game like that, early in his career with Buffalo, he would have thrown some head scratching interception, and you'd have been like, "Come on, Josh, you got to do better than that." But this game, like, he was locked in. He was throwing darts. If he had to scramble a little bit, he made every right decision that they needed when they needed it. Because you had 5 minutes left, you're down 15. You needed 2 scores, 2-point conversions, all that kind of nonsense that in that amount of time, it's hard to really pull off. And he managed to do it, and I feel like that's why, I guess my prediction about the Bills making it and getting to the Super Bowl, I feel like it's just because of the maturation with Josh Allen and Keon Coleman. I gotta give him credit as well because Keon Coleman looked great in that game as well, and he's going to be important to the Bills' success as well this season. Okay. All right, let's go Monday night. Game that happened last night. Bears Vikings. You had the Bears -1.5. I had the Vikings +1.5. Vikings win the game, so I got that one right. When you look at the 2 young quarterbacks, Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy, I guess what's kind of your outlook on those two after the game last night?
First 3 quarters, J.J. McCarthy looked over his head. Fourth quarter, J.J. McCarthy looked like a top 5 quarterback. J.J. McCarthy, just kind of like what I said before about Josh Allen. He was just very resilient and stuck with it, and it paid off in the end. Say it kind of shows. It's kind of good when you see that because, when it comes to quarterbacks, that's the most important thing. How do they bounce back when the going gets rough? And JJ showed that he has it in him. So I do love seeing the fight that he put. I thought he looked shaky. Yes, obviously has things to improve on for sure, but strong ending. That being said, the Bears. Oh, man. I don't even know how to put it. Because the first half, they looked fine, but the second half, they just completely fell apart. And I know the conversation is going to start with Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams does have his own problems to work on. His decision-making, I think he has to learn to throw with a little more anticipation. But I need people to calm down. I see enough folks saying, "Oh, we should probably start Tyson Bagent." Like, no, you shouldn't. Like, let Caleb develop a little bit.
Yeah.
The decision-making that really boggled my mind in the end was you score the touchdown. You need to either, you need to kick it out of bounds to get a penalty and make sure you don't waste the 2-minute warning or kick it out of the back of the end zone. Now, Cairo Santos, if anybody doesn't know, he's arguably the weakest leg out of all the kickers. I've watched him kick 48-yard field goals that came up short. Like, he does not have a strong leg.
Yeah.
So there's really two options with him. Either just kick it out of bounds, take the penalty, get the ball at the 40, but save the 2-minute warning, or kick it, make sure it misses the landing zone. Once again, take the penalty and save the 2-minute warning. But this kind of came down to, and this is to me just a rookie mistake, and Ben Johnson will learn. He just didn't know his personnel. He tried to have Cairo kick it out of the back of the end zone, which it came well short. And you can see them look at the sidelines, and Kevin O'Connell just going, "Hey, take it out, take it out."
Mm-hmm.
So then they kind of cost themselves a solid 40 seconds of comeback time. So it was really unfortunate. I thought that just, to me, at the end of the day, the real difference in that game came in the coaching staff. Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores just showed why they're some of the best coaches in the league with the way they kept their team in the game. And the Bears coaching staff just kind of showed that they have a lot of learning to do with the way they kind of fell apart at the end and some of the mistakes we saw.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with the coaching on the Vikings side. I thought, you could definitely see that moment where Flores decided to dial up the pressure on Caleb Williams, and Caleb had no answer for it. Even with all that, Caleb's going to be kicking himself about that throw down the sideline with DJ Moore, where DJ Moore broke free. It was open, and Caleb put too much on it and threw it, out of his reach. That's a pass that literally JJ McCarthy made on the other end to Aaron Jones and hit him in the stomach. And those two plays were the big moment in this game and why the Vikings won, and ultimately the Bears ended up losing. Plus, Randy Moss apparently was their good luck because he gets on the Manning cast and the Vikings offense automatically turns on, and they scored 2 touchdowns while he was on there. So, yeah, it's the good luck charm in Minnesota for them. But, yeah, I agree. Don't need to overreact to Caleb Williams just yet. Let him and Ben Johnson figure some things out. Because, like you said, they had moments where they looked a lot better offensively. Cole Kmet, the throw he gave to Cole Kmet, like down the middle, and like Cole put his one hand up and caught it. Like, that was great placement on the ball. You can build off of stuff like that. Now, the miscues, that's got to come with coaching as well. So I think both teams they'll be fine. All right. Go ahead.
Oh, no, say Caleb's completion to Odunze where he's throwing off platform and he hits him on the sideline.
Yeah.
That's just like a very impressive throw that you can't really teach. Like, there's not a lot of quarterbacks that can get that much velocity and power underneath a throw that's that off platform. So, like I said, I think Bears fans and everybody just got to be patient. I still think Caleb's going to be great. It just might take a little longer than they like, and that's okay.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. All right, let's get into the lock of the week. We each took our team, so, I mean, obviously you love what your Packers did. So, Bob, I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about them for a little bit. I guess as a Packers fan, obviously, what's the area you still need to see some improvement? Was there anything that shocked you, whether scheme-wise or a player or whatever? Like, what about Packers-Lions? I guess I'll start there. Did anything shock you in the Packers' play against the Lions?
Sid, I think mainly what kind of caught me off guard was the play of Lucas Van Ness. He was a guy that, people were unsure of who he was coming into this year. He had flashes last year, but wasn't always consistent. And he just looked like a completely different player, lined up on the edge. They even lined him up at D-tackle. There was just a lot of creativity with the defense, and Van Ness looked great. Everybody on that D-line looked great. Micah Parsons came in for limited snaps, looked great.
Yeah.
So defensively, we looked awesome. And I was joking with Kyle about this before the show. I think for the rest of the year, I have to make sure to drive Jeff Hafley's stock down so we can keep him as a defensive coordinator. So defensively, did you see that touchdown he gave up? Come on, teams look away. No, I think the only part that we got to show improvement on, and this is a thing that the Commanders will try to exploit, is on throws between 10 and 19 yards. Jared Goff was 5 of 6 for 81 yards and a touchdown. And obviously that touchdown was actually just a pretty ridiculous touchdown. That was a great catch by Tesla. But that intermediate part of the field was a bit of an issue. The Packers were forcing so many throws underneath that it didn't really pop up, and I don't think a lot of people noticed it, but I think that's something to watch out for. If the Commanders do attack, they're going to go no huddle, and they're going to try to attack that intermediate part of the field and see if they're going to they'll be able to fix the defense by then. That when it comes to the offense, I think I'll throw out the negative first, I guess. We got ourselves into too many 3rd and longs. We weren't able to establish the run against the Lions that well. Josh Jacobs, I believe, averaged like 3.1 yards per carry.
Yeah.
It was not an impressive day on the ground. Thankfully, they made up for that, though. The backs and the line in general were great at pass protection, gave Love enough time to find whoever he wanted, and then some. So those are just maybe my 2 little nitpicks about the Packers. It's that, but overall, we played pretty much a flawless game. Like, the receivers were getting open, the line was blocking, the Lions couldn't cover us at all. We were getting so much pressure on Jared Goff that there's nothing that he can do. There's nothing that he could really do except dump it down. So overall, I'm real happy about what our guys did on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to Thursday night.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, when I watched it, it was, well, one, I was so glad that Golden switched his number from 22 to 0. Watching him at wide receiver wearing number 22 just seemed so weird to me. But I think the Packers look like a team energized by the Parsons addition, and the Lions look like a team still trying to figure things out with everything that they lost, coaching wise and key player wise on the field. So I think if you're a Packers fan, obviously you feel great about week 1. I think if you're a Lions fan, you might feel a little worried about it, but you have to believe, Campbell will get everything straight. Goff is a vet. You still have Gibbs. Like, you have a lot of pieces there that you probably won't have many more weeks that look like how you did against the Packers week 1.
And we kind of saw, it's just something I pointed out too with our run defense, because a lot of people are like, how are we going to stop the run? And this is something I mentioned before, that the Packers linebacker group is ridiculously fast. So as long as we don't get blown off the line, like, we'll be able to rally to the football rather quickly. And we saw that. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's one of the most explosive backs in the league. Held to like 2 yards a carry, and he had 10 catches for 31 yards. Like, that's going to be the key. If you're going against the Packers, if you don't, account for every defender, and you don't get a hat on a hat, well, that's how we're going to stop the run. They're just going to use a lot of like breakneck speed and just absolutely swarm the football. So it'll be interesting to see if the Commanders can figure out how to slow down this Packers run defense in week 2.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point there. But yeah, great showing for them. I guess I'll go with mine. I took the Pats -2.5, even though, would I really believe in it? I don't know. Because I literally did like the ESPN pick'em, and I picked the Raiders to cover, but whatever. I felt like it was going to be like a field goal type of game, because the Patriots are still getting accustomed to a lot of the changes that Vrabel and company made coming in. The Raiders, Pete Carroll, really good coach. He's a good motivator. Like, he knows this stuff. So you figured the Raiders would be up for it. And I will say, Patriots defense does look really good. Like, Harold Landry had 2.5 sacks. They were able to get pressure on Geno. I know I've seen some people who I guess are wondering, because they did it a lot off of blitz, are they going to be able to sustain that? And do they have to be able to get pressure without blitzing all the time? Whatever. But I liked what I saw from Landry. May had a very up and down game. Seemed like early on he was missing some throws, and then he had a good part in the middle, and then kind of late in the second half, a little erratic with his passing. But it's his second year. They always kind of look at May and then they look at Josh Allen's first couple of years and they compare the two. And I'm like, if you're going to do that, then you got to give May some time, because it took Josh Allen year 3 before he turned it around. So I'm not going to give up on May. Would like to see a little bit more of, Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams, like get the young guys out there, but I'm not panicking as a Pats fan. And I feel like they'll have a good chance against Miami. Although I never like playing Miami early in the year. I think they're going to Miami, which, like I said, not an easy place for the Patriots to win. But I feel like they have a very good chance to get it done down there. But, yeah. Maybe take the hats off to the Raiders for getting the win.
I say maybe you guys are going to be the ones to put the nail in the coffin in the Mike McDaniels tenure. So
hey, if they do that, I will forget completely about week 1. I will look at the season starting right then. All right, we got one more pick to go over. Our underdogs of the week. You took the Giants plus 6.5. They weren't able to get it done against the Commanders. Offensively, Russ struggled. Dart is the backup. I'm sure some Giants fans are already ready to see Dart get his start. But Dayball's already come out and said Russ will be the starting quarterback in week 2. So I guess it was your pick. Do you think the Giants offensively need to stick with Russ? Or would you maybe make the panic move, as some would say, and go to Dart now?
I mean, I'd go to Jameis, then Dart.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't even feel like a panic move. Like, Russ wasn't good last year when he got a chance with the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
And now he doesn't look good again this year. Like, I'm not throwing Dart out there right away. Like, I fully believe that they should just take their time with Dart and wait and give him more time to just kind of sit there and, develop and let him watch for a bit. Because that's what, at the end of the day, that's what a lot of these best quarterbacks have, end up doing, like just learning from a vet. So I think it's invaluable for him to get, soak in some experience from guys like Russ and Jameis. Because as bad as Russ is playing, still a very knowledgeable player. But I think sooner rather than later, if you want to have a chance in some of these games, I would at least switch over to Jameis, see what he's got left in the tank.
Yeah, I think a lot of the frustrating parts with Russ was he would drop back. And the minute he got to like the 3rd or the 5th step, he was already like feeling pressure and moving up in the pocket, which was just leading him into sacks. I think at least with Winston's going to throw it. Now, you got to worry who he's going to throw it to, but you feel like Winston will at least get the ball out of his hands. And that's where I think the frustrating part, like when I was tuning in, it was like, Russ just kept running up into the defender's arms and just taking sacks for no reason. I get it that the Commanders were getting pressure on you, but you have to be able to stand back there at least a time or two to deliver a throw. I mean, I know his days of scrambling around are kind of gone, but I felt like he didn't do himself any services back there either. It says it's going to be the same thing with the Giants.
It just feels like at the end of the day, when it comes to Russ, once he lost his ability to scramble, that was just kind of it for him as even like a starting quarterback in this league, because that's just such a big part to his game, creating magic with his legs, and just the magic is gone. So, like, I still think he should be on the team for a while for this year, for if anything to be a mentor. But I feel like it's Jameis time.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say I took the Seahawks plus 2.5. That pick looked really good for maybe until like the last 2 minutes when I think it was Purdy's I think Purdy threw the pass. He basically threw like a floater into the corner of the end zone. And I think it was, Syjan, you're here, you can let me know, but
it's the Tariq Woolen.
I think it was Tariq Woolen was there. had it in his sights, and for some reason he went up for the interception where knocking it down would have been perfectly fine, and he got undercut by the Niners tight end, who I think was the replacement for Kittle or whatever, and that ultimately led to the Niners winning it. So my pick was right there, but they just didn't finish the job. I mean, like I said, Saijan, you let me know what you thoughts on like Darnold in his first game with the Seahawks. Like, let me know that. But I thought the Seahawks were okay. I thought defensively they played well up until the Woolen play. I kind of expect more out of Woolen. Like Woolen is supposed to be probably upper, not echelon corners, but like he's supposed to be kind of a really good corner, and to kind of have like the mental mistake there is definitely a killer.
Yeah, if anything, you got to like break on that ball, and I feel like he just didn't do that. By him just standing back and waiting for it to come to him, he just allowed Jake Tongues to just undercut him.
Yeah,
which just cannot happen in that situation. Incredibly gutsy win for the 49ers, who, by the way, should just fire their entire strength and conditioning staff. Because clearly something's wrong. Nobody can stay healthy again.
Mm-hmm.
Even like Purdy's dealing with an injury, so he might have the great Mac Jones versus Spencer Rattler Week 2 matchup.
Okay, there we go.
But
yeah, Kittle's out they put him on IR, so he's out with 4 weeks with the hamstring. They did sign Kendrick Bourne for the wide receiver group. Although Pearsall looked good. But yeah, they got to figure out something. Whether it's something in the Gatorade or something like that, but guys out there just perpetually get hurt. Siden said the Mariners outscored the Seahawks by 5 points. There you go. The offense obviously have to get a little bit more explosive, but they did enough to win that game if Woolen just, has better skills in the air there. All right, so we got week 1 out of the way. Let's go ahead and look at week 2 because we got to make some picks for week 2. We have some interesting lines here. So we always do the big games, the primetime games. I blanked on the word there. And this week we actually have 4 of them because we get that week of double Monday Night Football, which I'm here for. A lot of people like to complain. Late game at 10 o'clock. Who's staying up? Well, this guy will. So we'll pick those 4 games, and then we'll get our favorite of the week and our underdog to cover. So let's start Thursday Night Football. Make sure I write these down. Where your Packers are out there. Our Siden says the Steelers will beat the Seahawks. Okay. So the Packers at home have the Commanders coming in. Packers are a 3.5-point favorite. Which way you going? I mean, I feel like I know where you're going, but you're going to pick your Packers to cover the 3.5.
Yeah, I'll pick the Packers. Look, at some point, I will not pick the Packers to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they'll lose at some point, but I do think we start out 2-0, and I do think we cover this. Commanders, immensely talented, though. I think the Giants did have some success getting pressure to Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when it comes to our defensive line, I think that'll end up being the difference. Plus, they're young and they have a lot of energy and stamina, so it'll be really tough to they'll try to wear them out with that no huddle.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we'll be ready for it. So I'm looking forward to it, but I think our defensive line will make all the difference in this one.
All right. Yeah, I'll take the Packers as well. And I think with it being in Lambeau, I think that'll give the Packers enough of an advantage for me. I did think the Commanders did look good against the Giants. I thought Daniels made some good throws. So it may be a little bit of a shootout on Thursday night between Love and Daniels. I'm not mad at it, but I'll take the Packers as well, minus the 3.5. All right, let's go Sunday night. Interesting choice here, going Falcons and Vikings. But look, a lot of people are loving what they saw from Penix. We just talked about J.J. McCarthy. At least you're getting a stage for these 2 young quarterbacks. Defensively, we're going to have to see if Penix can handle what Flores will have in store for him. And then for the Falcons, I guess against the Vikings defense, Pitts is now a legit weapon in that offense again. He had like 6-7 catches. Like, okay. So looking at these two, the Vikings are a 4.5-point favorite up in Minnesota. Do they cover? Or do you have the Falcons here, maybe?
I think the Falcons will cover.
Okay.
I think it'll just be a close game in general.
Mm-hmm.
As great as J.J. McCarthy looked, and we can't take away from the fact he did look really rough the first 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll get kind of closer to, first 3 quarters J.J. McCarthy than fourth quarter J.J. McCarthy. I think, he'll do good. But I think that between him playing, I'm predicting he's going to be a little more shaky against the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
And the Falcons overall just having a lot of weapons, but they do have to contend with Brian Flores. I do think that this will end up being a close game. I do think that the Vikings win, but I think it's within the 4.5.
Yeah, I mean, this one's definitely going to be a tough one. But the Falcons are going on the road. I don't really like that team on the road. At least previous years. We'll see if this year is different. But I think the second half for McCarthy will give him a lot of confidence going into this one against the Falcons team that, right now the Falcons are going through their own issues with their kicker in that situation. And we'll see. Can Penix do it again out on the road? Like he did it against the Bucs, and they still lost, but he did it against the Bucs at home. Now let's see if his game will travel. I'll take the Vikings in the 4.5. All right. First Monday night game. This one, not a bad matchup. The Bucs and the Texans. Baker Mayfield, C.J. Stroud, Mike Evans, Nico Collins. You have that defensive front from the Texans. You have a Bucs defense that's pretty good as well. You have Todd Bowles, DeMeco Ryans, 2 defensive-minded coaches. You got Nick Chubb, who's now the feature back, I guess, with the Texans, as Mixon is still out. So how do you see this one playing out? Texans are a 2.5-point favorite at home.
I'll take the Bucs.
Okay.
I once again, I like the talent on the Texans. I think they have some talent there, but I feel like all their flaws are on full display against the Rams. And the most glaring one was C.J. Stroud, once again, was under fire the entire game. This is a Texans team that can't protect C.J. Stroud, and it's that simple. I feel like the Buccaneers will dominate the line of scrimmage. Because at this point, it's almost impossible when you're playing defense against the Texans to not dominate the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And I think that keeps it close. I think I'll pick the Buccaneers to even win this outright. But, man, if anything I saw from the Texans in week 1, it's they really have to address this offensive line issue.
Yeah. I agree with you. I'm taking the Bucs as well. I mean, I like some of the pieces down in Texas with the Texans, but like you said, that offensive line is definitely worrisome, and the Bucs are a good defense, and Bowles will find ways to put a lot of pressure on that offensive line to protect C.J. Stroud. Because obviously, if C.J. Stroud gets time to throw it, he's a good talent back there. But if he's running for his life, not really much you can do. So I'll take the Bucs and plus 2.5 as well. Oh, Jory did say, I don't like Raheem Morris. Well, no. There's plenty of Falcons fans who feel the same way. All right, the second Monday night game, Chargers -3. So a 3-point road favorite here going to Vegas to face the Raiders, who come off the win over the Patriots. Chargers off their big win over the Chiefs. So do you think there's a letdown here from the Chargers, or you have them covering on the road?
You know what? I think the Chargers will win, but I'm gonna pick the Raiders to cover.
Okay.
Divisional games are weird,
and
I think the Chargers did look really good against the Chiefs. That being said, I think they'll be riding that high, and I think the Raiders will just kind of surprise them and mix it in with how weird divisional games get. Yeah, I'll take the Raiders covering the spread, even if I think the Chargers will win.
Okay. I'll go the Chargers. And I would not be surprised if this is one of those games that's a push with it being -3. And I guess to let you know, I got this from FanDuel Sportsbook. But yeah, I just think the Chargers, I think that Chiefs win was a confidence builder. It was, their moment to kind of just free everything up and be like, oh, okay, so we do kind of belong with the better teams in the AFC. I think they continue that against the Raiders team that, look, the Raiders aren't going to make it easy for them, but I just like what I saw from the Chargers. And like you said before, I don't want to necessarily overreact to week 1, but I don't know, the Chargers just looked like they are hitting on all cylinders early in the season. Okay, so now favorite of the week. So this one, we're obviously going to take a team that's favorited, a team that we feel very confident in. Who are you looking at for your favorite of the week?
Over the Chiefs.
The what?
Eagles over the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's not a bad one to go with.
It could be like +5.5, and I'd still go Eagles over the Chiefs.
All right.
I'm very confident that the Eagles will win that game by at least a touchdown. I'm guessing closer to 10 points.
Yeah, it's hard to feel confident in the Chiefs right now. That's actually a good one. I will go. I may regret this, but I think I'm gonna go with the Bengals -3.5 against the Jags. I know the Jags won against the Panthers. It was kind of weird. They had the weather delay and all that. So I don't really know how much that might have played into it, because I want to be like high on the Panthers this year, but it was a terrible showing by then. So maybe the Panthers are just bad again. I don't know. But I'm still not going to completely buy into the Jaguars being like a good team or anything. And I think the Bengals have to play better than they did week 1. I'm going to go with the mentality here that the Bengals are used to starting slow. They got to win in week 1. Maybe now the lid is off the jar and they could play better against the Jags. So I'm going to take the risk here and go with the Bengals -3.5. All right, so now looking the other way, who is your underdog that you think will cover?
Oh, how bold do I want to go with this?
It's up to you.
You know what? I don't know how bold this quite is, but give me the Browns to cover.
11.5 is a big number.
That's a big number. Joe Flacco is always willing to air it out against a Ravens secondary that looked really suspect in the opening week.
Mm-hmm.
And good luck containing Myles Garrett. That's always been a challenge for every team. I think the Ravens will most likely still win this football game. They should, but the Browns also did put a really nasty scare into the Bengals, didn't they? I think they'll do it again. I think they'll keep this a lot closer than people think. So I'm going to pick the Browns as my underdog.
Okay. All right, so got a couple of games I could go with here. Do I go back to the well with the Seahawks against the Steelers, who, I know Curran put that his biggest takeaway was Rodgers still has something left in the tank. He obviously had some added motivation going against the Jets, his old team. He basically laid that out in his post-game press conference that he wanted to beat everybody over there, whatever. Do I want to go there, though? I don't know. I can't go Panthers against the Cardinals. I can't do that. I mean, do I want to go crazy with the Colts again? Because the Broncos, as we said, Broncos didn't look great against the Titans. Colts played over their head. They're back at home. No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the Colts +2.5. That might be the one time, as me being a Patriots fan, I'm going to sit here and give the Colts any praise, but I'll go Colts +2.5 in that one. All right, so to recap, and obviously if you go look on the Wire to Wire page, maybe tomorrow morning or a little bit after the show, I'll put these up there and you guys can review them. But we're both taking Packers minus 3.5 on Thursday night. You have the Falcons minus 4.5. I'm taking the Vikings and the 4.5. We're both taking the Bucks plus 2.5 against the Texans on Monday night. The second game, you have the Raiders plus 3. I'm taking the Chargers minus 3. Your favorite of the week, Eagles minus 1.5 over the Chiefs. I got the Bengals minus 3.5 over the Jags. And then your underdog, you got the Browns plus 11.5. Now, mind you, we're not saying that these underdogs will win. These are who we feel like will cover. So you have the Browns plus 1.5, and I have the Colts plus 2.5.
Hey, you know what? Maybe they will. The Browns and Ravens are weird in the sense that they split the series most years. With the past couple of years, it's been one Ravens blowout with one Browns really close victory.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, if the Browns did pull this off and win, I feel like everybody would be shocked, but I wouldn't be the most shocked because it just always seems to play out like this. Like the first matchup seems to like to head to the Browns' favor, and then the Ravens will respond in the second matchup by blowing them out. So,
okay.
So go Browns! Browns victory. We're calling it, right?
Yeah. Hey, I mean, look, Flacco going up against his old team. You know, he may want to show him something. Get Jerry Jeudy loose in the secondary. I don't know. They're sure. Look, part of it could be Ravens let down after the way that they lost to the Bills. Maybe they come out slow, find themselves down a score or two. Who knows? At that point, all things are out the window. So I did ask in the chat, I guess, who should be on upset alert. So I guess for you, the Ravens. I feel like unless you have somebody else who maybe should be on upset alert as well.
On upset alert?
Yeah.
I think there's some interesting matchups here, but probably the next closest thing to upset alert, just kind of scoping through them real quick. Bears, upsetting the Lions. Lions are 5.5-point favorites. But if the Lions fail to protect Jared Goff like they did against the Packers, which, like I said, I think they'll figure it out. But there's a very real chance that if they cannot protect Goff, and the Bears are able to get pressure up the middle with Hargrave, then they might be in a world of trouble. I think that's a very serious consideration of being an upset alert.
Okay. And look, I'm just going to say this. We knocked down the Saints for so many weeks on here. You feel like if the Saints are going to get a win, they're at home. They don't have to deal with Brock Purdy. They don't have to deal with George Kittle. Maybe this is a game that they can steal with Spencer Rattler at the helm. And, Kamara's looked all right. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see if Mac Jones can handle that environment down in New Orleans. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints stole a win there from the Niners.
The greatest quarterback matchup of this week for sure.
I think because of that, if I have an opportunity to watch that game, I may just watch it just to see how long before I just lose my mind over bad quarterback play. Or maybe it turns into a really interesting game. I don't know.
I feel like if we had Bladen, there we go, over under 10.5 checkdowns into the running back, both teams.
Yeah, they probably hit that in the first quarter.
I feel like it's just gonna be McCaffrey and Kamara just catching checkdowns for half of the game.
Hey, there you go. Look, they're on your fantasy team. You play both of them. What's going on, Furry Mustangs? What do we think about Jane Daniels? Early this week, they said his right throwing was hurt due to taking a sack in last week's game. I mean, I'm a big fan of Jane Daniels. I guess we'll have to see later in the week if there's an injury report that comes out, how bad that may be. But I feel like Jane Daniels is a gamer. He'll be out there. He'll play. But yeah, I think the Commanders are in for a good year. Maybe not the type of year they had last year because that was a complete surprise making it to the NFC title game, but I fully expect them to be a playoff team again this year.
So, oh yeah, it'll be a competitive game. Jaden Daniels is banged up, but the Packers might be without 2 offensive linemen, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. So far, say it's possible that Zach Tom misses Thursday and Aaron Banks. So we'll have to see what the injury report says on Thursday. But both teams are banged up, so this might be a battle of pretty much whose depth at their respective positions are better.
Yeah, but Furry will say that Brett and I both are taking the Packers minus 3.5. So we both feel like the Packers will win it.
So I do love me Jaden Daniels anyway. Though.
Yeah, definitely big fan of Jaden Daniels. All right, I mean, those are our picks for week 2, and that's kind of all I have for you. Unless you want to maybe talk about another game that may be intriguing that we may not have picked, or you want to let them know what you have coming up later on tonight here on the network.
No, I'm just kind of peeking around at the game, see if there's any other fun ones, and it feels like that compared to week 1 was just so amazing, and I know week 2 probably won't match the highs of week 1, but I'm just excited for another fun week of football. I'm excited to see like Rams Titans, how the Titans offense bounces back, if the receivers learn how to catch. Like, I feel like there's a reason to watch every single game, and that should be a lot of fun. Panthers and Cardinals. The Cardinals could not, protect Kyler Murray to save their life. He seemed to be pressured on every play. We had Bryce Young watching the mini games on the Jumbotron mid game, so
yeah,
like it feels like there's a reason to watch every game, and I love it. That's what I love about early in the season. I'm excited for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you got to see how the Dolphins look after the Colts embarrassment. Justin Fields looks actually comfortable in New York. Can they take down the big bad New York team and the Bills? Like you said, with the Titans and the Rams, there's intrigue with each of these matchups. I mean, look, Giants Cowboys. What do the Cowboys look like after their loss in week 1? And can the Giants get decent enough quarterback play to steal a game? Who knows? But yeah, so obviously you guys have to come back next week to find out how our picks went, and we're both 2 and 3. Can either of us have a plus 500 week? We'll see. But yeah, I will say, Brett, let them know what they can look forward to later on the network.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see more of me in about 30 minutes. I'll be on the Meaty Boys podcast, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna be talking about the return of AJ Lee, John Cena's final match being moved, and just what happened on Raw and SmackDown. We'll talk some AEW discourse. It's gonna be a great time.
Yeah, there you go. So, like Brett said, about half an hour or so, come back here on the network. Check out Meaty Boys if you're a wrestling fan, or maybe you've been away for a little bit, want to get caught up. Check them out. They'll get you caught up and set for the road here in the world of wrestling. But appreciate all of you for tuning in. Make sure you're back here next Tuesday for more from us. Obviously, if there's anything big that happens, we'll talk about it along with the NFL. I mean, you have like WNBA playoffs getting underway. Maybe that works its way onto the show a little bit. We'll see. But yeah, so appreciate all of you. Enjoy the rest of your night. Make sure you're back here in a little bit. We'll see you next week. Oh, on your way out, make sure you like and follow or subscribe to Wire to Wire wherever you're watching. Appreciate all of you. We'll see you next week. All right. Bye.